students. So today we are going to start chapter 3 tissue, right? So let's start our chapter. Tissue. This is chapter number 3. So what are tissues? First of all, this is the question. What are tissues? In previous chapter you have read about a cell, right? Different organelles are there. This was a cell. So when group of cell is present, such group of cell is present, this is known as tissue. Here all the cells are of same structure and they will perform same function. So this will be known as a tissue, right? So the concept of tissue is clear here. Definition is the group of cells which have similar structure and they perform same function. So this is tissue. Here we have division of tissues. Tissues are of two types. We have plant tissues, we have animal tissues. Tissue which is present in plants, plant tissue. Tissue which is present in animals, animal tissue. Alright? So today we will discuss the types of plant tissues. So broadly there are two types of plant tissues. Plant tissue is of two types. First is meristematic tissue and second is permanent tissue. So these are the main two types of plant tissue, right? So I am going to tell you the definition of both. You have to remember those definitions very carefully. So first we have meristematic tissue. So here in this tissue cells divide actively. Now what is the meaning of actively dividing cells? That means the cells which are present in this tissue, they always divide. They never stop cell division. They will always divide. They keep on dividing. Then we have permanent tissue. Here the cell, they lost the power of cell division. They lost the power of cell division, right? What's the meaning of loss of power of cell division? That means the cells present in this tissue, they will stop dividing. If they stop cell division, then what they are going to do? Now this is the motion. What they will do? They will do special function. And what is that special function is? They can transport water conduction can be there. They can store food. They can provide support to the plant. So these are the extra functions which will be done by permanent tissue. They will conduct water, they can conduct food, they can store food, they can support the plant. So this was your permanent tissue. Again I am repeating, in meristematic tissue, cell divide actively. That means the cells which are present in this tissue, they always divide. But here in permanent tissue, cell lost the power of cell division. They stop dividing. They will start doing special function. Alright? Now the types of meristematic tissue. In today's video, I will just give you the names, right? So meristematic tissue is of three types. There are three types of meristematic tissue. First one is known as apical meristem. Apical meristem. Second one is intercalary meristem. And third one is lateral meristem. Okay? Lateral meristem. So there are three types of meristematic tissue: apical, intercalary and lateral. Their function, their position, we are going to discuss in next class. So this was today's lecture. So prepare all the things properly. Thank you. Hello students. So today in biology class we are going to start with meristematic tissue in detail. So there are three types of meristematic tissue. First, apical meristem. Second, intercalary meristem. And third is lateral meristem. Lateral meristem can be known as cambium, right? So I am going to explain explain all these three tissues in detail. For that, we have to focus on the diagram first of all. So suppose this is a layer of soil and we have a plant. This is the root of the plant and suppose this is the stem of that plant, right? Okay, so here first type of meristem is present at the tips of the root and tips of the stem. Tips means the last point. So this is the tip, last point. This is the tip. So at this position, apical meristem is present. So when the tissues of apical meristem, it will grow, cell will divide here, the length of the plant increases. The apical meristem of root increases the length of root and apical meristem of stem increases the length of stem. Second, we have intercalary meristem. So before understanding intercalary meristem, first of all you should know what are internodes. This region of the stem is known as internode. You have seen such lines on some plants such as bamboo. So these lines are known as nodes and the space between two nodes is known as internode. So intercalary is present at the internodal region. Its function again same. It increases the length of the stem. As internodes are only present in stem, so it increases only the length of the stem. It is not present in root. Alright. Third, we have lateral meristem. Lateral meristem is present on the sides of the plant. For that, we have to take a transfer section of this plant, like we have to cut a ring from here, such as, for example, we have taken such portion of the plant. And when we view this section under the microscope, such structure can be viewed. So these triangles are vascular bundle. Vascular bundle means xylem and phloem. You have already read in previous classes about xylem and phloem. So the space between vascular bundle, this space. So this space is covered by lateral meristem. So when lateral meristem is growing, the cells are dividing. So what is going to happen? The diameter of the plant increases. Right? So here you can see apical and intercalary. This leads to increase in the length of the plant and lateral it increases the girth of the plant. Girth means diameter. Alright. So I have prepared some slides in the lab. I am going to show you those slides now.
Students, here you can see I have shown you the roots of onion. The ends of onion root is having apical meristem, right? In next slide, so here I have created the slide of apical meristem. So you can see many cells are present. So this is a slide of apical meristem.
Next tissue we are having permanent tissue, right? So in permanent tissue, I have told you earlier, cells have stopped cell division. Now they have started some special function. It can be anything. Storage of food, conduction of food and water. It can provide support to the plant. Several functions are there. So permanent tissue is of further two types, simple and complex. This simple permanent tissue and complex permanent tissue, how we have differentiated. In simple permanent tissue, all the cells are of same kind. Same type of cells are present. But in complex permanent tissue, we have different groups of cells. Right? In simple, further we are having three types. Parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. And in complex permanent tissue, we have only two types, xylem and phloem. So this topic will be covered in detail in next class.
Hello students. So today in class 9, in subject biology, we are going to continue with chapter number 3, tissue. Last time we have discussed meristematic tissue in detail. Now we have to start with the second type of plant tissue, which is permanent tissue. So here on the screen you can see permanent tissue is mentioned. It is having three types. First, protective tissue, second, supporting tissue, and third, conducting tissue. So these are the three different types of permanent tissue. Let's see their division. Okay. So protective tissue, its function is to protect the plant. That means it is present as the covering of the plant. So here we are having epidermis. In today's class, I am going to show you the slide of epidermis. So this is the outer covering of plant. In supporting tissue, so this tissue supports the plant. It stores the food, it provides strength. Mechanical support is also there because of this tissue. This is further divided into three types. So we have parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. So these are the three different type of supporting tissue which are present in the plants. Parenchyma. So what is special about parenchyma? So these are living cell. Usually they store the food, right? If we talk about their structure, their cell wall is very thin. And these cells are compactly packed without any intercellular space. Then comes collenchyma. So these are the cells whose walls are thick at the corner. That means cell wall is thick at the corner. So in collenchyma, cell wall is thick at the corner. So usually in these cells, photosynthesis occur. This is present just below the epidermis. And then last we have thick cell wall tissue. Hello students. So today in class 9, in subject biology, we are going to continue with chapter number 3, tissue. Last time we have discussed meristematic tissue in detail. Now we have to start with the second type of plant tissue, which is permanent tissue. So here on the screen you can see permanent tissue is mentioned. It is having three types. First, protective tissue. Second, supporting tissue. And third, conducting tissue. So these are the three different types of permanent tissue. Let's see their division. Okay. So protective tissue, its function is to protect the plant. That means it is present as the covering of the plant. So here we are having epidermis. In today's class, I am going to show you the slide of epidermis. So this is the outer covering of plant. So here this is a slide of epidermis of leaf. So all these irregular cells, they are of epidermis. They are present in the covering of the leaf. And in between you can see dark oval structures are there. Those are stomata present in the epidermis. Right? So with this, epidermis is clear. In next video, epidermis of onion cell is shown under the microscope. So you can see these are the cells of epidermis of onion. So these are rectangular in shape, almost rectangular. In supporting tissue, so this tissue supports the plant. It stores the food, it provides strength. Mechanical support is also there because of this tissue. This is further divided into three types. So we have parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. So these are the three different type of supporting tissue which are present in the plants. Parenchyma. So what is special about parenchyma? So these are living cell. Usually they store the food, right? If we talk about their structure, their cell wall is very thin. And these cells are compactly packed without any intercellular space. Then comes collenchyma. So these are the cells whose walls are thick at the corner. That means cell wall is thick at the corner. So in collenchyma, cell wall is thick at the corner. So usually in these cells, photosynthesis occur. This is present just below the epidermis. Next we have sclerenchyma, in which the cells have thick cell wall. and these cells are dead cells. They always provide support to the plant, they always provide mechanical strength to the plant. These are of further two types, sclerenchyma fibers and sclerids. Sclerids are also known as stone cells, right? When you eat pear or apple, the grittiness inside that fruit is due to the stone cell, so which is a part of sclerenchyma. So with this, supporting tissue is completed. I'm going to show you the slides of all these three also. So here is a slide of transverse section of stem. You can view here different type of supporting tissues. Then come third type of permanent tissue, which is known as conducting tissue. So from its name it is very clear, conducting, that means they are transporting something. So in conducting tissue we have xylem and phloem. In previous classes you have already read about xylem. It conducts water from roots to different parts of the plant. And what about phloem? It conducts food prepared in the leaves to different part of the plant. Right? So in 9th class, difference between xylem and phloem can be there. So on various aspects we have to give the difference between both. Let's see the further type of cell which are present in xylem and phloem. So look here, xylem consists of 4 type of cells. Their name is given. First is vessel, then tracheid, then xylem fiber, and then xylem parenchyma. So these are the 4 type of cells which work together, and they form xylem tissue. And similarly in phloem tissue again we have 4 type of cells: sieve tube, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, and phloem fiber. Here same, all the 4 type of cells, they work together and they help in the transportation of food, right? So from book we are going to read in detail function of vessel, tracheid, fiber and parenchyma, and also sieve tube, companion cell, phloem parenchyma, phloem fiber. So in this slide you can view phloem and xylem tissue. Observe the slide carefully. So with this plant tissue ends, we'll start animal tissue next. So with this plant tissue is finished here. So this is the plant tissue that we have covered, right? So this is in detail. Next we have to read phloem tissue. In phloem we have different type of cell. Let's see sieve tube first of all. So these are elongated cell placed end to end, which makes a tube-like structure. Their main function is to transport of food. Next is companion cell. These are living cells and these are associated with sieve tube cell, and their function is they help in the functioning of sieve tube cell. That means they support the sieve tubes. Then phloem parenchyma, they store food. Phloem fiber, they provide support. So these are the points that you have to keep in your mind. Alright. Now we have to start with animal tissue. Today only introduction part will be there. Right? So animal tissue is further divided into 4 different types. First is epithelial tissue. Second is muscular tissue. Third is connective tissue. And fourth one is nervous tissue. So these are the different type of tissue present in animal tissue. We have to go through every tissue in detail. So in today's class, we'll discuss only the introduction part. Detail will be discussed. Hello students. So today in class 9th, we are going to start with animal tissue. In animal tissue, we are going to discuss epithelial tissue in detail with different parts. First of all, with the definition of epithelial tissue. So these are thin protective sheets of cell. They cover the surface of body, and also they line the various body cavities and different internal organs. Their main function is protection, absorption, secretion of some substances, and sensory function. Next we have first simplest type of epithelium tissue, which is known as squamous epithelium. Squamous epithelium is having thin flat cells. These are polygonal cells. So these are present in the lining of mouth, nasal cavity, blood vessels. They protect us from mechanical injury, from germs and from harmful substances. So here in the diagram you can observe the shape of squamous epithelium. So these don't have any space in between. These are just like interlocks. Next we have stratified epithelium. This is found in skin and cornea. Cornea is the outer transparent covering of our eyeball. So it is composed of different layers of cells. Strata means different layers. So here in this tissue you can see different layers of cells are there. It can be of same type or different type. In this diagram you can observe blue, red and light blue color are given to the different layers of cell. Next we have cuboidal epithelium. From its name, it means cell is of cuboidal shape. That means length, breadth and height of the cell will be same. So these are present in the kidney tubules, salivary gland and the ducts of pancreas. So you can see the picture of cuboidal epithelium. Here nucleus is round and cells are cuboidal shape. There is a variation in cuboidal epithelium. In next image you can see cilia are present on the free end of the cuboidal epithelium. So they help in the movement of substances wherever they are located. Next we have columnar epithelium. Here cells are tall. Those are pillar-like or cylindrical. Look at the image. Here long cells are there and oval nucleus is present near to the base. The black color shows the basement membrane on which single layer of cell is placed. The location of columnar epithelium is the inner lining of stomach and intestine. Next we are having ciliated columnar epithelium. So there is modification in columnar epithelium. So they have cilia on them. So these are found in the inner lining of windpipe. With the continuous beating movement of cilia, any dust particle can be thrown out of the windpipe. So look at the image. On the free ends of the columnar epithelium we have cilia. Next we have glandular epithelium. So in columnar epithelium, in between some gland cells are present which will produce some secretion. So these are present in the lining of stomach and intestine which produces enzyme for digestion. So look at the image. The red color cell in between the columnar epithelium is gland cell. This tissue becomes glandular epithelium. It is present in the lining of tear gland, in the skin as sweat gland. So this is today's lecture. With this, epithelial tissue is finished. Thank you. Hello students. So today in class 9, we are going to start with chapter 3 tissue, muscular tissue. So this is the second type of animal tissue. Today we are going to discuss muscular tissue in detail. So here you can see on the screen 3 types of muscular tissues are mentioned. So this is first type of muscular tissue which is known as striated tissue or striated muscles. You can see in this tissue long cylindrical cells are present. They have bands on them. So this is the structure of striated. Next we have the structure of unstriated. You can see here spindle shaped cell is there. Spindle means which is wide from the center and narrow at the tips. So such cells are present in unstriated. Then we have cardiac. So this is the structure of cardiac muscle. You can see it is branched. It is joined here and it is having bands on it. Okay. Next we have the difference between of striated, unstriated and cardiac muscle. On the screen you can see first I have mentioned striated muscles are unbranched, unstriated they are also unbranched, but cardiac these are branched. Then let's talk about the nucleus. In striated muscle, inside one cell many nucleus are present, so it is multinucleated. In unstriated, it is uninucleated. That means only one nucleus is present. In cardiac muscle, again uninucleated, only one nucleus per cell. Point 3. Striated muscle get fatigued. Fatigued means tired, thakavat. Striated muscles get fatigued. After working, after some time, they get fatigue. But unstriated, they never get fatigue. No fatigue. Cardiac muscle, same, no fatigue. Then in fourth point, we can discuss the presence of bands. In striated muscle, dark and light bands are there. In unstriated, no bands are there. And in cardiac, again, bands are present. In last point, this is the example of all different type of muscles. In striated muscle, so this is found in legs, arms, your tongue. So basically these muscles help you to work according to your will. So this is the reason they are also known as voluntary muscles. Hello students. So today in class 9, we are going to start with chapter 3 tissue, muscular tissue. So this is the second type of animal tissue. Today we are going to discuss muscular tissue in detail. So here you can see on the screen 3 type of muscular tissues are mentioned. So this is first type of muscular tissue, which is known as striated tissue or striated muscles. You can see in this tissue long cylindrical cells are present. They have bands on them. So this is the structure of striated. Next we have the structure of unstriated. You can see here spindle shaped cell is there. Spindle means which is wide from the center and narrow at the tips. So such cells are present in unstriated. Then we have cardiac. So this is the structure of cardiac muscle. You can see it is branched, it is joined here and it is having bands on it. Okay. Next we have the difference between of striated, unstriated and cardiac muscle. On the screen you can see, first I have mentioned striated muscles are unbranched, unstriated they are also unbranched, but cardiac these are branched. Then let's talk about the nucleus. In striated muscle, inside one cell many nucleus are present, so it is multinucleated. In unstriated, it is uninucleated. That means only one nucleus is present. In cardiac muscle, again uninucleated, only one nucleus per cell. Point 3. Striated muscle get fatigued. Fatigued means tired, thakavat. Striated muscles get fatigued. After working, after some time, they get fatigue. But unstriated, they never get fatigue. No fatigue. Cardiac muscle, same, no fatigue. Then in fourth point, we can discuss the presence of bands. In striated muscle, dark and light bands are there. In unstriated, no bands are there. And in cardiac, again, bands are present. In last point, this is the example of all different type of muscles. In striated muscle, so this is found in legs, arms, your tongue. So basically these muscles help you to work according to your will. So this is the reason they are also known as voluntary muscles. The meaning of voluntary is according to your will. Means these are under your control. So striated muscles, that means which are present in legs and arms, they work according to you, with your choice only. If you don't want to work, legs and arms, they are not going to work. If you want to run, the muscles of leg will help you to run. Alright? Similarly, unstriated, these are known as involuntary. Look at the example. Stomach, intestine. So these muscles are present in the walls of stomach and intestine, and these are involuntary. That means they don't work according to your will. They are continuously working without our will. For example, you have taken your meal and stomach is digesting your food. Does stomach take your permission? No, it works accordingly. Whenever it is getting food, it will start its process. So those muscles help in the digestion. So these are involuntary. That means these are not under our control. Cardiac muscles are also involuntary. You can see only example is heart. So these muscles are present in the walls of heart. So they will not work according to us. They are continuously working without getting fatigue. Suppose if the muscle of heart get fatigue and stop working, what is going to happen? Heart will stop beating. Once heart stop beating, what is next? Person will die. So keep in mind, cardiac muscles and unstriated muscles, they don't get tired, they always work. Cardiac muscle, it works 24/7. That means every time it is working without break. So this was your muscle tissue. In case any query, you can ask the teacher. Right? So these are the main points that you have to keep in your mind. Thank you, students. Hello, students. So today's topic is connective tissue. So from this word connective tissue, what you are getting? So what idea you are having? Connective means to connect something. That means to connect one part with the another. So in animal tissue, this is the third type of tissue and it is having further 3 types in it. Connective tissue proper, hard connective tissue and fluid connective tissue. So first of all, let's start discussing connective tissue in detail. So let's see. Here we are having all the subtypes of connective tissue proper. First is areolar tissue. So this tissue binds different organ. This tissue binds the skin, right? Let's take an example. So just try to pull your skin. Are you able to pull it? Only little much of skin can be pulled, but not much. Why? Because this is binded with the help of areolar tissue, right? Next we have adipose tissue. This tissue stores fat in it. So it is having several functions inside our body. First of all, it provides insulation to our body. It is present under the skin throughout the body. So this is the reason our body temperature remains constant. It doesn't allow the heat of the body to move outside. Whatever temperature is in our surrounding is there, our body temperature is not going to change because of adipose tissue. Second, this tissue when present around delicate organ, it acts as shock absorber. So it will absorb the shock whenever you fall or any mechanical injury is there. So due to this adipose tissue, our delicate organ doesn't get injured. Next we have fibrous connective tissue. Fibrous connective tissue is made up of fibers. Those fibers are collagen fiber, elastin fiber. Fibrous tissue is having 2 types, tendons and ligaments. So tendons are made up of collagen fiber. Their function is to join muscle to the bone. Then we have ligament. This is made up of elastin fiber and their function is to join one bone with the another bone. So this was your connective
Next
tissue.
types of connective tissue will be discussed in next class. See you in next class. Take care. Thank you, students.
Hello everyone. In today's video, we are going to cover the following topics. Hard connective tissue. From name it is very clear. Hard connective tissue. So the types of hard connective tissues are given here. So you can see 2 types are given. One is bone, second is cartilage. So bone. This is hard porous tissue. This is unable to bend. If you try to bend the bone, it will break. The cell present in the bones, they are known as osteoblast. Like bone cells are known as osteoblast. Inside the bone, blood supply is also there and nerve supply is also there. Right? In cartilage, So cartilage is made up of chondroblast. Chondroblast means cartilage cell. So cartilage is flexible, but inside cartilage there is no blood supply and no nerve supply. The tip of your nose or your external ear all are having cartilage inside it. So this is the reason you can bend your ear easily, right? And the position of bone, it is very clear to everyone. So this make the framework of our body. This is the skeleton system.
So let's see the example of cartilage present in the external ear. So you can see this is external ear. So and we can bend this. Why we can bend this? Because of the presence of cartilage in it, right?
Next we have fluid connective tissue. This is the third type of connective tissue. Let's see its types. Fluid means liquid. So the tissue which is present in liquid form inside our body, it is blood, it is lymph. So let's start with blood. So this is red colored fluid present in our body. It is having three type of cells and one is plasma. So first is RBC, they transport oxygen. Second is WBC, they fight with germs, they provide immunity to our body. Then comes platelets, they help in the clotting of blood. And last, plasma is the liquid part of the blood. It transports different substances such as waste material, food substances, hormones, antibodies, all these are transported with the help of plasma. Then move to lymph. Lymph is having only two components. One is WBC, second is plasma. Same function of WBC, fight with the germs, and plasma function, transport different substances. So overall function of blood is it transport different substances, and function of lymph, it protect us from germs and diseases. Okay, individual function you can easily remember from here. So this was the end of connective tissue. So you can see on the screen. So this was connective tissue in detail, having all the three parts discussed in detail. Next tissue is nervous tissue. So in nervous tissue we have nerve cells, or nerve cell is also known as neuron. So regarding nervous tissue, only the structure of neuron is important. So look at this. This is the structure of neuron. So here, this is the center portion of the cell which is known as cytosol. It is having quite small and numerous processes which are known as dendrites, and a single long process. So this is known as axon. The ends of axons are further having tiny branches, so it is known as axon terminal, right? So you can see inside the cytosol we have nucleus, so it is labeled with pink color, and on axon a covering is present. Here with yellow I have represented it. This covering is known as myelin sheath. So this is not continuous, it is having breakage in between. Right? So wherever the breakage is present, that portion is known as node of Ranvier. So this is the nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is present in brain, spinal cord, and nerves present in our body. So it helps in transporting messages from one part of the body to another. Due to this system, we are sensitive to different substances. We can smell, we can taste, we can feel something. Right? So with this, our chapter ends here. So must prepare your chapter properly and do exercise and question timely. Thank you, students.